Welcome to this second session on how to learn to play walking bass. In the first session we looked at the leading note principle and how you can practice the 5 leading note intervals. In this session we're going to look at true walking. Now we're going to use a chord scale, or at least the beginning of a chord scale. It's actually very, very simple. All we need to know is the root note of the chord, the second note in the scale, and the third note of the scale, and that is very easy to find out. If it's a major chord, let's say the chord says C or C6 or C7, so it doesn't say minor anywhere in the chord spelling, then you play notes 1, 2 and 3, so that will be C, D and E. So they're the first 3 notes of your walking bass line in a 4/4 time signature. If the chord, however, says C minor, C minor 7, C minor 6, C minor major 7, so if it has minor in the chord spelling, then it'll be using the flat 3. So instead of an E, you simply play an E flat, so C, D, E flat. That's all there is to it. So on a C major, you would play C, D, E. Move around a bit. Okay, first 3 notes. On a C minor, you would play C, D, E flat. See, that flat 3 makes the chord sound minor. That's a crucial interval. So that's all you need to know right now is 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2 flat 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play along to the same chord sequence over and over again. It's a C minor 7 to an F. We don't need to worry about the 7 right now because we're just playing the first 3 chord scale tones. So because it says C minor, we're going to play C, D, E flat, and we'll just play the F on the 5th beat, so to speak. So we'll leave the 4th beat free for now because we're going to put in the leading notes eventually. Okay, so I've got a very simple band in a box track set up here. Once again, easy to do, and this is just C minor to F over and over again, and we'll just have a listen to just playing C, D, E flat, leaving a beat free, then playing the F. Okay, here we go. And again. C, D, E flat. I'll just play the low F instead of the high F. Easy enough, isn't it? Okay, so we're almost walking. We're playing the first 3 beats in 4/4 time. Now the next step is just to insert any of those leading notes that we've looked at in the previous video, in the first video in this series on walking bass. Insert any of those leading notes on beat 4. Now remember, if we're going to F, it's going to be a C to an F, or an E to an F, or a G flat to an F, or a G to an F, or a high C to an F. Interesting thing about this now is the leading notes, they give us the possibility to jump or change octaves if we wish. So if I want to go to a low F, I can do that by going, that's the C to the low F, so that's the descending 5th, but now I can actually play the E, the ascending semitone, 2, 3, that, or C, G flat F there, C, G F there, and the one we already had, the descending 5th. So the only one you can't do in this particular case when you're going to the low F on a 4-string bass is the low C, but you can see it gives you another 4 possibilities from those 5 leading notes. If you had a 5-string bass, of course, you could do that. Now let's do that band in a box track again, and this time I'm going to play those 5 leading notes in the ascending order, in the same order that we did in the previous video. 4. Now I'll go to the low F. Okay, so you can see that that works pretty well, even though the C minor chord does not have an E in it. The E as a leading note did not sound all that dissonant. The slower the tempo is, the more choosy you have to be with your leading note. So there are leading note choices, better choices in some cases, and I'll talk about those in another a tuition video as well. There are leading note choices, but at the medium to fast pace, it doesn't really matter that much, and especially if you're playing very fast, it certainly doesn't matter. Okay, so that was the E, slightly dissonant on the C minor chord. The next one, of course, is the G flat. That's not a chord tone, so you can see that's slightly dissonant too, but not all that bad at this medium pace. And the other two, the C, of course, and the G, they're perfectly fine because they're in the scale, and the C is even in the scale or in the chord. It's one of the chord tones of the F chord, of the target chord. So that's all perfectly okay. So using notes 1, 2, and 3, and then the leading notes in ascending order is a good way to practice. So you go 1, 2, 3, leading note 1, which is upper fourth. 1, 2, 3, leading note 2, which is upper semitone. Leading note 3, 1, 2, 3, and then leading note 3, down a semitone. 1, 2, 3, leading note 4, down a whole tone. 1, 2, 3, leading note 5, which is down a perfect fifth. So remember, when you're playing 1, 2, 3, you're using a flat 3 on a minor chord, as we had in this case, and if it's a major chord, which we'll look at in a couple of videos time, I think, then of course we use the major third. Simple as that. So enjoy this part of your walking bass, and make sure you practice it a lot so you really get comfortable with it and practice it in many keys. So playing 1, 2, 3, and whatever leading note you choose. And I guess just before I say goodbye, I should actually show you where a lot of this stuff can be seen. This is my book called Fundamental Concepts for Walking Bass, a Systematic Method, and I'll put the link to the website here somewhere in the video or below it. $11.99 for a downloadable version of this, and I think $17 something for the hard copy of this book, which contains a lot of the stuff I'll be talking about. Okay, bye.